Hey, it's Steve from Happy, and today we're going to take a look at the Synclavier Regen, the first synthesizer in 30 years by brand Synclavier. The Regen is a digital FM synthesizer made for desktop use that contains the power of the much revered Synclavier II DSP plus a whole lot more for the modern synthesizer or sound designer enthusiast. You may or may not be familiar with the brand name, however, you've most certainly heard the sounds of the iconic synth. They were hugely popular throughout the 1980s with artists such as Frank Zappa, Michael Jackson, Paul Simon, Pete Townsend, Duran Duran, Depeche Mode, or closer to home, The Church, who used the Synclavier for the iconic glitched out bagpipe sound on their song Under the Milky Way. Even Neil Young had his affair with the Synclavier, using it heavily on his most uncharacteristic album, Trans, in 1982. The first Synclavier I was released in 1978, and was an early adopter of frequency modulation, or FM synthesis, which they had licensed from Yamaha, who had patented its hardware use of the technology. It wasn't until 1980 when the Synclavier II gained the brand notoriety after a suggestion from music producer Danny Yeager. Yeager proposed that the FM synthesis concept could and most certainly should be extended to allow 4 simultaneous channels or voices of synthesis to be triggered with one key depression. This allowed the final synthesized sound to have much more harmonic series activity. It was Yeager's suggestion that put Synclavier on the map and cemented its place in world-class studios across the world. The brand continued to operate under its umbrella company, New England Digital, up until 1993, when according to Cameron Jones, one of the original founders, its intellectual property was sold. Jones eventually bought back the IP, and in 2019 reintroduced the world to an iOS version of the Synclavier dubbed the Synclavier Go, which used much more of the same code base from the original hardware units. The Regen uses additive synthesis for full control of 24 harmonics as well as subtractive synthesis, allowing creation of supersaws, PCM square waves, and noise generation, or you can use samples for your carrier waveform. And what I really like about the Regen is that these different waveform generators can be mixed. You have up to 12 what they call partials to use in your overall sound, with crossfades assignable to inputs such as velocity, pressure, mod wheel, and keyboard. It's also MPE compatible for those who like to get expressive with their keyboard performances. Loaded with over 550 presets across 10 libraries and over 2,000 royalty-free samples built in, the Synclavier Regen looks to inspire its users straight out of the box. Taking a look at the unit now, on the back we've got a pair of balanced XLR outs with ground lift switches, stereo 1/4 inch unbalanced outs, a USB host for using with your DAW of choice or audio interface, plus 4 USB ports that allow you to connect a MIDI controller or a QWERTY keyboard to rename patches. MIDI in and through is supplied via a 5-pin DIN to 3.5mm TRS connection, and these connectors are supplied with the unit. There is no MIDI out as there is no onboard sequencer or knobs to send controller messages. I've spent a couple of hours today trying to get to know this thing and really only scratched the surface of what it can do. Now, everything you'll hear, the drums, percussion, bass, strings, sound effects, it all came straight out of the Regen. So let's dive in and see what I came up with. And there we have it, the Synclavier Regen. It's certainly not one for the faint of heart, or a first-time synth purchase. There's an awful lot to get your head around. However, after spending a little bit of time with it, I'm slowly starting to understand the workflow, and it feels rewarding and inspiring with each new discovery. And retailing at around 4,000 AUD, it's a worthy investment for those truly passionate about sound design, and much more cost effective than the originals that I believe were upwards of $200,000. So consider it a steal. Rumour has it that Happy will soon be interviewing Mr. Synclavier himself, Cameron Jones, so be sure to keep your eyes peeled for that in the coming months. And that's it for today, we'll see you next time.